You see this wanker? These wankers have put targets on everyone. Keir Starmer is responsible for the sort of shit that happens there. Because he's put a target on every one of us with his smears and lies for telling the truth. Charlie Kirk told the truth. If Charlie Kirk lived in the UK, Keir Starmer would lock him up. How dare you make comments about his death? When you're responsible for this shit, people with your mindset, condemning people, putting targets on them, lying about them, and then pretending you give a shit. Absolute fucking hypocrisy.
In the wake of the shocking assassination of US conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, the fallout has now crossed the Atlantic. British activist Tommy Robinson released a fiery video targeting UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, accusing him of creating a climate of hostility against right-wing voices. Robinson's remarks came shortly after Starmer issued a public statement condemning the attack on Kirk. But instead of welcoming the message, Robinson denounced it as hypocrisy. He accused the Prime Minister of putting targets on people through political smears and suggested that the same establishment mindset in Britain would have criminalised Kirk if he had lived here. Charlie Kirk told the truth, Robinson said. If he lived in the UK, Keir would lock him up. How dare you comment on his death when your own politics fuels this hatred? The comments highlight the deep divide in how political leaders and activists frame tragedies like this. For Starmer, the assassination presents an opportunity to condemn violence while reinforcing his government's stance against extremism. For Robinson, however, Starmer's statement is nothing more than political posturing, a cover, he claims, for policies that target dissenting voices. Robinson's criticism reflects a wider frustration within populist and right-wing circles, where leaders like Kirk are viewed as victims of political silencing. Linking Kirk's death to what he sees as Starmer's culture of suppression, Robinson doubled down on his long-running argument that the UK criminalizes speech under the banner of hate crime laws. Robinson's intervention ensures the assassination is not only a U.S. story, but also a flashpoint in Britain's own free speech wars. While Starmer attempts to strike a statesmanlike tone, his critics are using this moment to argue that mainstream politics creates the very hostility it claims to oppose. As Kirk's death reverberates globally, the row between Robinson and Starmer is a reminder of how political violence abroad can inflame debates at home about truth, censorship, and responsibility in public life.
James, thank you very much for coming in so late at night on this truly tragic day, not just for Conservatives in America, but really across the world, and all people who believe in freedom of speech and peaceful political engagement. What was your reaction when you heard this appalling news?
I could hardly believe it. I was with friends earlier. The news came through that Charlie had been shot. I immediately could understand the context of the shooting. Only last week I was working with his team to fly out with him to the University of Missouri on the 29th of September, and he'd asked me very generously to be part of that event, and he was explaining the security involved, the state police, private security. I was with him and his wife Erica for supper in Colorado a couple of weeks ago. And gosh, he was a force of nature. I mean, I feel like I knew him well. We only got to know each other just 2 or 3 months ago, but it's, I think, a testament to his character that I felt we'd become firm friends. He texted me just 3 days ago asking me some obscure question in moral philosophy, so he could be better prepared for these engagements, this sort of peaceful discourse that he tried to encourage on campuses all across America. And I witnessed him at this fundraiser in Colorado, and I thought, my gosh, the energy you've got in terms of his sort of understanding the way the elections work, how to build up a successful youth movement. I mean, what he built up in 13 years. He left school at 18. He built up in 13 years probably the most successful youth political movement we've seen, certainly in America has seen, and that the West has seen in many, many decades. And I think, if the political opponents of the Republicans had to take a single person out, had to target one person, it would have been Charlie Kirk. He will be a devastating loss, obviously, to his family, to the American right, to America. I mean, he was your archetypal American man, American boy, just 31. He was humble. I mean, I spent weeks trying to get him to call me James, but he refused. It was always Dr. Orr. He always had that sort of extraordinary humility. It was just absurd given his success and given what he had built up, what he had achieved. And my heart goes out to his wonderful wife, Erica, just such a sweet person, two little kids, extended family. And he built up in Turning Point USA an enormous family, extraordinary loyalty, 1,000 people on his payroll, extraordinary energy, and was just a phenomenon, a force of nature, and a real threat to the political left. We don't know, of course, what the details are, what the motivations of the shooter are, but it does seem to have been a targeted political assassination.
Political assassination is the language used by the governor of Utah tonight. And
The sudden assassination of Charlie Kirk has ignited waves of political shock, not only in America, but across the wider Western world. Beyond the tragedy, commentators are now grappling with the scale of Kirk's influence. Professor James Orr, a Cambridge academic known for his work on politics and religion, offered one of the starkest assessments yet: what he built up in 13 years, probably the most successful youth political movement America has seen, and that the West has seen in many, many decades. Orr was referring, of course, to Turning Point USA, the grassroots organization Kirk founded at just 18 years old. What began as a small effort to engage conservative students on campuses grew into a multi-million-dollar powerhouse with chapters across the United States and beyond. Turning Point USA did not merely echo the Republican Party line. It rewired the conversation for a generation of young conservatives. At a time when campuses were dominated by progressive causes, Kirk built a brand that blended brashness, patriotism, and viral media savvy. Through campus chapters, national conferences, and relentless digital campaigns, PUSA positioned itself as the training ground for the next generation of right-wing activists. It gave conservatives, especially students who felt silenced in academic spaces, a sense of community and mission. Kirk's genius lay in packaging politics as culture. Turning Point's social media campaigns, often provocative and meme-driven, reached millions of young people who might never have attended a political rally or read a policy paper. Of course, Kirk's influence was deeply polarizing. His critics argue that TPUSA fueled division, weaponized culture wars, and pushed young people toward extreme positions. Some academics warned that the organization blurred the line between activism and indoctrination. But for his followers, the very ferocity of these attacks only proved the movement's impact. To them, Kirk embodied courage against what they saw as an oppressive establishment. With Kirk gone, the question now is whether Turning Point USA can survive without its founder's charisma and relentless drive. The infrastructure is there, a vast network of donors, chapters, and media pipelines, but the movement's identity was inseparable from Kirk himself. Professor Orr's words underscore the stakes. Kirk didn't just build an organization. He forged a cultural and political phenomenon that redefined the way youth engage with conservatism. Whether TUSA begins to unravel may determine not only the future of America's conservative youth movement, but also the broader ideological battles across the West.